Hello, this is Dikembe Mutombo, your NBA Hall of Famer. I just want to let you know, if you are thinking about streaming another podcast, no, not today, not in my house. You need to turn on to Awkward Side Huge so you can be online.
You gonna push record or?
It's recording.
It's record. How's it going, everybody? It's your favorite podcast that you guys have missed. COVID's really taken a toll on all of us, so we haven't recorded in a couple weeks. But hey, we're back. The Ash Podcast, the Awkward Side Hug. I am one of your three hosts, Steven, alongside Brian and Lex Diamond. Lex D. How's it going, guys?
Oh yeah, that was amazing. You made it sound like we all tested positive for COVID or something.
And we couldn't do it because Brian had COVID, and we're all
yeah.
Well, actually, Brian's been out exploring the world during this COVID pandemic.
I've gone. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I've been out a few times, and I've even come home and said, like, I need a self quarantine. And then the next day I wake up and I'm like, you know what? I don't live in Florida. I guess I could.
In March or in early April, Brian scolded me and Lex for like just wanting to go to the park and stuff, and
it was
and he said like, oh, you can't go, like and then Lex had a little graduation barbecue. Brian went like he finally came out of his cave, goes to the barbecue. We have a freaking great time.
I haven't
and
gone home since.
literally the next day, Brian's at the beach. Then he's going for hikes. He's going to Solvang. It's just like
he's like pounding Heinekens. It's getting crazy out here.
This is mineral water.
Oh, nice.
So,
what is it? Topo Chico.
Topo Chico.
Nice.
Chico. All right, mineral water.
All right.
It's actually really good.
He purified himself from the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Not to foreshadow the end of our episode, but I'm gonna do a product review on this pretty soon.
Okay.
Because what we do here at Ash is we steal ideas.
That's tight, man.
So this is gonna be the first, hopefully the last, time we ever talk about NASCAR on the Awkward Side Hug. I'm not a fan. I'm assuming you two are not a fan.
Never. Yeah, it's never really piqued my interest.
Yeah, I can't say that I watched more than a couple minutes of it.
Because I'll admit this, like, I don't like golf, but at least Tiger Woods has made me like somewhat interested. Like, I'm like, oh, I hope Tiger Woods wins that, but I'm not gonna watch. I'm not gonna pay attention. I'm not gonna do anything. NASCAR, I have never even felt like I wanted to. The only reason it's a sport is because ESPN covers it. Like, I would not even. Sure, whatever. So that's my 2 cents. So where do we want to start?
Oh man, there's so many things that have happened with NASCAR over the past few weeks, maybe months.
So
let's start at the beginning.
Start
at the beginning. Trying to save the galaxy.
At the beginning.
The Wright brothers invented cars. I'm just kidding. I don't didn't they invent the plane?
They invented the plane, yeah. Oh man, dude, the podcast literally just fell apart over the span of 15 seconds just now. Wild.
What happens when you gotta shake the rust off?
The Wright brothers invented Ford, or what?
So, after the George Floyd and the BLM movement, Bubba Wallace, who is an African American driver, I don't know if he's half African American. To be honest, that shouldn't matter. But this is off to a great start. But so he and I'm gonna mess up some names. I'm gonna start accidentally saying country singers.
Racist really or something?
Petty.
Petty.
He's a former driver. Maybe he's a country singer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Him and Bubba Wallace asked NASCAR, "Hey, we should ban Confederate flags."
Oh, yeah.
And NASCAR is like, that's a great idea. And to be honest with you, I would have never known, because I'm not into the sport, that Confederate flags were a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I had no idea that they were at. I mean, I guess like looking at like hindsight's 2020. Okay, maybe I should have had a suspicion that there might be a Confederate flag or two at a NASCAR race.
Let's get into the stereotypes of NASCAR.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, but I didn't know that they were
Right.
like waving it purposely at every single like or at these events.
Like I didn't know it was like a thing until they banned it, and then I was like, oh, and then that in a weird way like fueled the stereotype of NASCAR. And I'm gonna say this right off the bat because I've been watching Sports Center and stuff like that that's been covering this. And
so Brian gets his news.
Yeah. Oh, where else am I gonna get NASCAR news, dude?
Yeah.
So they the way NASCAR has handled everything so far, I'm gonna give credit to NASCAR. NASCAR as an organization has handled things very well since 2 weeks ago.
I don't even know who like the head director or CEO of NASCAR.
I think his name's Steve Phelps, but that might be a swimmer.
Yeah. It's Michael Phelps' brother.
Like it's just a secret society of the NASCAR.
So and then like a week later in Talladega, which is in Alabama, Bubba Wallace, a crew member, opens up the garage and finds that the rope that you pull down the garage with or whatever is it was a noose, and everyone's like, "Holy crap!" And then everyone's saying like this was a.
And it just so happened. Just so happened to be Bubba Wallace's.
Right.
Garage, right. What are the chances? What are the odds?
So you might even think that's not, because when we figure out more about the story, so it might have maybe put him there on purpose. But people are saying that that's not how it works. It's like by random how garages are assigned. Then the FBI comes out and says it was not a hate crime. This noose, and they still claim it's a noose, has been there since October. And there's been many races and many events where people have seen this, people walk by it, people who worked in that garage since then who are not affiliated with the original reason why there's a noose there. So he was like, it's not a hate crime toward Bubba Wallace because that noose has just been there. And apparently NASCAR did a sweep of every single racetrack that they run on, including probably the one in Fontana. And they have ropes, and they said like, I think like an odd number of them were tied in knots, but none of them were tied as nooses. There was only one noose in the country, and that was in Talladega in Bubba Wallace's garage.
Yes, yeah.
And so NASCAR had to make a statement saying, like, we apologize that we overblown the hate crime aspect of it because I guess it wasn't toward Bubba Wallace. But the fact that there's a noose says a lot about NASCAR culture.
Well, NASCAR culture, at least in Alabama.
Right.
Yeah.
And they even did a thing where like there's like I don't know, there's like somebody within the NASCAR community probably made that news. So now there has to be like sensitivity training, and they even said like there has to be sensitive training that people have probably walked by, noticed it, and didn't say anything about it, and stuff like that. And apparently there's a speedway owner in Carolina or something that said like something on the lines of like I read this today, like he was selling like replica nooses, and then he had to take down the ad and saying like, you could wave your Confederate flag here, because apparently at the race they had at Talladega, people were in planes saying defund the NASCAR with the Confederate flag.
Yeah.
And I guess the moral of the story is the South is a totally different place than where I live.
The South is definitely a different time period, so that's for sure.
And it's crazy like how backwards. And I thought it was just very like, I don't even know if I have comments necessarily, but it's just like it's a very interesting story that I've been following this week. And apparently there's a former NASCAR driver that said like, because someone got upset, he's upset about the Confederate flag. And keep in mind, there's a NASCAR driver that left NASCAR because they got rid of Confederate flags. I didn't make that up. And someone mentioned that they should like tie Bubba Wallace loose and drag him around the racetrack. And then he said like his comments had nothing to do with race. It was just because he's upset that Bubba Wallace is outspoken. It's been a weird week, a week or two for NASCAR, especially following probably one of the most progressive I feel like I'm living one of the progressive moments of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And to still see that NASCAR, and I kind of feel embarrassed for some people probably within the NASCAR culture who are trying really hard to be like, this is not a racist like culture, and
Exactly, right?
all this is happening. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's really diverted away from the Kaepernick and how the NFL handles things.
Oh
So,
man,
yeah,
for
it's.
real.
I feel like I've
Yeah,
done a
yeah.
lot of talking.
NASCAR has handled this situation way better than the NFL handled Colin Kaepernick, which also says something because yeah,
Right.
that's man,
I
that's like
guess
another.
I don't know. I guess for that you're comparing apples and oranges. Because I mean, if Kaepernick, I mean, he kneeled at the flag. So what would happen if Bubba Wallace kneeled? You know, would it still be the same thing?
Well,
They have
Yeah,
done
I
a
mean,
good job, though. They have done a good job of
when did he kneel? Was it 2017 or 2016?
16.
16.
So you can make the case that if Bubba Wallace did kneeled in 2016, people would care or not care or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like some very like backwards historical stuff.
Well, like I
Yeah.
was saying, like it's very positive and good to see um, this stereotype sport support this one African American driver the way they have.
Mm-hmm.
It's very positive.
This is, and like I said,
That's true.
NASCAR has handled this very well. Like in terms of investigations, coming out with a statement. When Bubba Wallace said we need to start banning these flags, they banned these flags. You know, they've been very like, because you can make the case that some organizations have been very tone deaf since it started. And I feel like NASCAR might be even overcompensating, but based on their culture, it makes a lot of sense now why they feel like they may have to overcompensate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
someone posted that like the Confederacy lasted 4 years. So it's like, dude, that's like holding on to your high school years, dude. But
that's like wearing your high school varsity
I think,
jacket for the rest of
yeah,
your life.
like
I
at
think,
40.
I think that's something that we probably don't understand being from California. The South, basically, those people, obviously their ancestors probably fought in the Civil War or were part of the Confederacy. And so it's like, what's the word? Like it's theirs. It's possessive to them. Like they feel like it's a part of them.
Something they can take pride in.
Right. I wouldn't say pride, but it's part of their history. And so they feel like it's a part of me. Not saying that it's good.
Well, to be honest, we're from California, and yes, California was involved in the Civil War, but we're now over here wearing Union fucking jackets. Like, I get it, like, but there's certain things in life where you sometimes go, those were the bad people in history or whatever, and you shouldn't affiliate yourself. But people do, and it's fine. We understand, like, that's a different region. We're a different region. I understand that, but the thing is, NASCAR is a national organization. They come to Fontana and race in California once a year, or I don't know how many times. I'm assuming it's once. And the thing is, like, I'm sure California doesn't want that shit here.
No, serious.
I'm intrigued, and I'm not gonna do any research. So if we have a listener who I would like to know, because maybe I'm sure we have some people who are into the sport. Do people wave Confederate flags at our Fontana Speedway?
Right, that's a good question. I'll have to ask.
Obviously, they're not going to anymore, but like in the past, was that thing?
That's a good question.
That's wild.
Which could you guys transition into?
Brian's Confederate flag is folded and tucked under his bed now.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, no, it's not. Stop. I don't have one. I don't have one, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just clear it up right now, before the clip gets taken out of context.
Stop. We only post that.
Yeah, right.
Oh man. You guys want to take the next topic?
I felt like you were really into the NASCAR, and you might start watching NASCAR.
No. I can read about it in the news, but I'm not. There's no way I'm going to watch 250 laps of the same shit. Like, I don't.
Oh, shit.
I'm sorry.
Is it on TV for the whole 250?
Is it? I've never known that actually.
Sometimes it's on Fox, and like I'll watch a couple laps, and then I change the channel. But
I do have a friend who's really interested into it.
It's not me.
Almost Brian. I'm kidding.
So similar to Brian, getting back into the world after COVID, sports are making a big comeback in July. I guess everybody in the Major League Sports went to Lex's barbecue too.
They all got inspired at my graduation barbecue.
So NBA's coming back, right? July 30th.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I want to make the case that if like
even though 16 players tested positive for coronavirus.
Yeah,
like recently, right? Like
anything can happen in the next month. I'm not getting my hopes up.
Yeah.
Baseball's coming back. I thought that one might not come back because I don't know if you guys heard about the player union and the owners.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And there's rumors that there's rumors that like the players were asking for the same amount of money, even though it's a shorter season. But then there's also rumors that the owners or like the owner of the league hadn't even talked to the players yet, and this was already like 2 weeks ago, like all the way up until like that much time has passed.
Well, one of the players I think it was Snell on the Rays, he made a decent point. He said like, if we're gonna be possibly exposed to COVID and stuff like that and all that, and we're basically just entertainers to the world, we're putting our lives at risk. We want to get paid what we're supposed to get paid.
Mm-hmm. I guess right at the very least.
He's like, I don't think he said this, but a lot of sports people are saying this. Like, some players know that they're not going to be playing for championships, and yet they're still expected to go ball out somewhere.
Yep.
And like Malcolm Jenkins, I think he recently said something like, if COVID doesn't get fixed, he doesn't want to play for the Saints this year.
Yeah.
Charles Blackman of the.
They're gonna say Charles Barkley.
Charles Blackman
Barkley
of the Rockies. He tested positive. The Joker on the Nuggets tested positive.
Did he? Wow,
these are very key players for their teams. Now, obviously, if you go into a quarantine for 14 days or whatever, you get 2 negative tests, you get to come back. But who's to say if this just escalates to the point where, let's keep in mind, once you get everybody in the bubble, and MLB is not going to be in the bubble, they're going to go from ballpark to ballpark.
Are they really?
That's what I've heard.
Oh, wow.
I could be wrong about that.
Oh, but with no fans though.
Yeah, and it's mainly divisional games. So I think 3/4 of the season is going to be like all divisional games. But that's still like San Diego to Colorado or Anaheim to Arlington. It's not like those are like easy trips.
It's a ways away.
What's your guys' take?
I think they need to chill.
Like the leagues or the players? Who's they?
Everybody. No, I think sports is coming back too soon. As much as I want to watch sports, as much as I love sports, I just don't think it's a good time for sports to come back, especially with a projected second wave of cases.
Do you think the second wave is nationwide, or do you believe the second wave is?
It's gonna be
in more of these hot.
It's gonna be spotted. I don't think it's gonna be a whole nationwide thing.
Like, I wouldn't be certain if we got a second wave, but it's not as bad as the first.
I think we'll definitely get a second wave in California.
But I think places like
Florida
and Arizona, I think this is their second wave, but it's literally like they're still riding their first.
Yeah, it's worse now.
They've been surfing for a long time. they've been on that wave for a while.
Yeah.
And like the WWE got like 19 or 24 COVID positive tests.
Really?
Yeah, and they're all in a bubble. Like you showed up to Raw, you're basically secondhand.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's
what happens when WWE is essential in Florida, dude.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
And that's where all these sports things are at. Like MLS is coming back, and that's going to be in Florida. The NBA is coming back. That's going to be in Florida. there's 2 MLB teams who are gonna play games at their ballparks in Florida.
I would be surprised if Florida lets fucking spectators go.
Yeah.
I don't. You would think at this point they need to start taking it more seriously, right? I
You
think
so?
I think recently a county in Florida barely started requiring people to wear masks.
Yeah, I mean, we thought you were never gonna leave the room, and look at you now.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, boy, I'm wildin'.
Living your best life.
Dang.
I think, and okay, so Corona is obviously one thing, but like, you know, with the social justice reform taking place and like the protests, and I'm not gonna say riots because I don't know why everybody says riots, but the protests are taking place, and I felt like there was such a big push, and it was starting to gain momentum, and now you're gonna take that away by having sports. Basically,
do you feel sports as a distraction or a platform?
A distraction. It's a platform if they weren't playing and the athletes were supporting the movement. Not like they were on strike or anything, but like if the leagues just weren't, if they were still suspended or postponed, and these players are.
I find myself having a hard time as a white male who's fucking fat.
Oh, shit, damn. You went hard on yourself, fam.
Making like telling
Midnight Madness right now.
Yeah, dude.
What athletes should or should not take a stand on. And like if LeBron James, who's a very vocal social activist, is saying that why can't we do both?
Yeah.
I think that's the case, but I could also see that like was it Steven Jackson who said it would be and Kyrie Irving saying it would be a distraction?
Yep.
Kyrie Irving's a little weird though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me just explain a little bit more in depth. I'm not saying that the players aren't going to be focused on both. I'm saying that your media coverage, your social media feed is, instead of being all this, you know, stuff that it's been, is going to switch over to sports highlights and everything sports, COVID.
But there might be messages in those highlights which you might not get. And the thing is, the media coverage could just naturally die. I feel like it's naturally died down. I only see it on my social media. And so, like, I think it's naturally died down regardless. So, like, you bring sports, it might actually reopen it. That's a case I'm making. To be honest, I'm also with you because I don't know either. Because sports would be a distraction too. I'm not saying it wouldn't. I think it would be a distraction. But I also don't know if it would be entirely a bad thing for the movement if people play it. Shut you up. I'm just kidding. When these night episodes, man.
Dude, we're struggling right now.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm really tired.
I've been yawning like for the past like 10 minutes.
They take a toll. No, but yeah, I mean, who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'm still gonna watch.
I mean, like, I'm gonna watch.
Oh, go.
I just feel like people who actually, I don't know, I guess it's going to cut the soldiers in half. Or not in half, but it's going to, you know, people are going to want to watch sports.
Don't half-ass two things, a whole thing.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That makes sense. So can we finally let Lex join the episode by making his announcement?
Yeah, man.
That he no longer fucks with us?
It's even his month to do it, dude.
Yeah, man. Birthday. I just turned 30.
Yesterday. I didn't mean Pride Month, but happy Pride.
Yeah.
And, I first thought Pride Month.
That's hilarious.
But it's Lex's birthday month.
Yeah. I just turned 30 years old. I'm the second member of the Ash crew to turn 30. To turn 30.
As soon as the clock hit 12, a couple screws came out of his body. Dude.
Yeah, I was like,
His knees popped.
And he's forget. Yeah, it's getting bad, man. I'm 30 years old. I'm already sleepy at 11 p.m. But yeah, man, I'm leaving Ash podcast. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's been the running joke this whole time because I did start like a solo YouTube channel, like just for like separate stuff, mainly for like product reviews. Just because I remember one day, or not one day, but there's been a couple things that I've bought in the past where I've tried them and I'm like, man, this is actually really good. And I'm like, huh, like I should like tell people about this, right? And I don't know, it's like it's always been like kind of something I want to do. To be honest, it's probably like the most 30-year-old thing I've ever done in my life is made a product review channel, but that's kind of what it is really. And I will have like a solo podcast on there just like once a month, just for me. But yeah, so it's that, and it's funny too because I was like this whole time I was like, or as I was like planning it, I was just about to like create the social media accounts and the YouTube and all that good stuff and just like post it. I was like, oh wait, you know what? I should probably tell like Brian and Steven like, oh hey, I'm just gonna make this side thing. But obviously Ash is still like the first priority for a podcast.
We'll see.
And then as soon as I told you guys, you guys like, all right, well I guess Lex is leaving Ash.
So this is your last episode. We might sign you
so-
to a per episode basis.
Yeah,
He's not picking up his 4th-year option.
yeah. I'm
No.
gonna be like Brock Lesnar.
So.
Yeah, we're gonna. So if you notice, Lex stops caring about Ash in the future.
Yeah.
This is why.
If you notice he stops caring, please call him out. Please. If you notice there's more videos on his own social media and nothing on Ash, call him out.
When he starts product reviewing oranges and like sporks and stuff instead of posting on the Ash page, just
notify your nearest Ash member.
your brother's gonna knock on the door and be like, "Hey man, like you need to start doing some Ash stuff, dude."
Yeah.
He's our biggest fan. So.
Dude, yeah.
Seriously.
He's getting worried.
And real talk, we should probably check on Lito in Arizona because
for
numbers have spiked and we have not heard from him.
And Arizona's getting hit hard right now too. So apparently,
Arizona's numbers are spiking at a higher rate than the boroughs of New York did.
Really? And you know why, right? Because nobody cares over there. Like I know from experience from like visiting there every year, just because I have family there. But
did they even close or?
They never closed, I don't think.
Like,
I didn't remember when Lito was bragging. Like, oh, we only have like 3 cases here.
Oh yeah.
Well, joke's on you. I hope you're okay.
Shouts out to Lito. We miss you.
Anything else? Right. Is there any lightning round stuff you want to get into?
Shoot, Steven?
Lex kind of hit it on the nail by leaving Ash. So.
You put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say, man.
I would say like I do I tip my cap wherever, like I do my what is it, the farewell.
The Lou Gehrig one? Or?
I get Lou Gehrig disease?
No.
What is it called?
Maybe that was Mickey Mantle. I don't.
When like, for example. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Come on, guy. Where you go to the pitcher's mound and you like just look at everybody, wave your cap.
Yeah, when like Ichiro Suzuki did it, he's like, oh, like one last like tip of the cap. But what do they call it? There's like a term for it.
If you know what the term is, put it in the comments below.
Yeah.
No one's gonna get that far in the episode.
I hope so.
Man, so they're gonna hear the key word for this episode is gonna be saying like Confederate flag like 12 times. And...
Like, all right, listen. Is that like if you guys like everyone took their headphones off halfway through the so every time I do like an Ash episode or something, like I crumble up the paper towards the end and like I throw it and there's like 3 like crumbled up pieces of like Post-it notes over there.
So you haven't cleaned up your room in 4 months?
In like 4 months. Yeah, because we've done 2 episodes in a year. So
COVID's been really hard.
It is, yeah.
Remember when COVID started and we were all gonna go home and we all said we were gonna do podcasts almost every week, almost every day. We have all this free time, and it just made it actually more concentrated at what's going on in our home environments.
I feel like we just got lazy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm at home. I just want to lay down.
Exactly.
Is that what happened, Steven? Is that why you didn't get on for this podcast? You were built at Entertainment Center?
So I was, okay. So I moved, right? I moved from Corona back to Chino, right? So Brian can stop bitching about me living in Corona. Right?
I applied for a job in Riverside recently, so maybe I'll take your old apartment.
We can have, FIFA tournaments again now because I live down the street from Lex. So like I needed an entertainment center because in the apartment my TV was on this small little table, kind of like a card table type thing. And dude, this fucking entertainment center was one of the hardest things to build. Like so tedious and took so much time.
The hardest thing I ever had to build was our friendship.
Well, joke's on you. We haven't been friends since Magnolia. So.
Oh man, this is beautiful.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't remember how I met Brian.
We must have met in a class because it's weird. There's this. Yep. We've had similar friends, but I can't pinpoint when I met you exactly.
We met in junior high. I think we had the same science class.
But we knew each other before then.
But we didn't like know each other, you know.
You
like
so?
in the science class, we started like making stupid jokes and yeah. I mean, you know, the other day I told my parents about how we used to go to Subway and be there for like 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what my mom told me? What? She said, "Oh yeah, like the Subway lady always used to ask me, like, how's your son?" I was like, "Oh shit!" Like she knew you were my mom. Like,
dang. So, about to get in trouble, fam.
Yeah, dude, seriously.
Even though you live on your own now?
Yeah. So whoop my ass.
Yeah.
Don't you be bugging them Subway workers.
Dude. I kind of regret how I was when I was, from ages like 12 to like 18, I regret who I was as a person. Probably, you know, I kind of regret my whole life.
That's tight. That's pretty tight.
But, yeah.
I think I just regret my whole battle career.
Yeah.
When you get coronavirus, will you regret the last 2 weeks of your life?
Yeah.
I mean, you're asking a lot of us right now, Steven. Just kidding.
I want to go get the Roman Reigns skin on Fortnite, so.
Oh, I'm down. Yeah. Citizen Fortnite.
Is there really a Roman Reigns skin?
It's the Aquaman and like black jeans.
Oh, okay.
This is a good time to make our 7th Ash announcement that we're about to start doing gaming stuff on Ash.
Yeah.
But you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it all. Just Lex.
You know
on his YouTube.
I'm gonna admit this. Me, you, and Lex have come up with this idea that we want people to start playing with us. But you know what? I think deep down, we really just like our group of friends. And
we don't want to like expand.
Yeah, it's true.
We're like hermit crabs. I was about to say Herbert crabs.
All right. I think we should peace out.
Yeah, my eyes been closed these past like 5 minutes.
No, your eyes have been closed, man, since you decided to leave the podcast.
Yeah, bro, man. It's because I'm sleeping on Ash.
Yeah. All right.